How you doing, folks? You're watching Onward with Onrie Live, and I'm your host, Onrie Compen. Today, I got an amazing guest. This lady she's totally got everything going for her. She's got the excitement, she's got the enthusiasm, and she's got the skills. She sent me her beautiful book, NORAH, which is put out by SourcePoint Press, and it is a pleasure. I've been looking forward to doing this episode for weeks now. I had a whole script in mind on how I was going to introduce her, but I think it's better if we just bring her on and let her go from there. Everybody, please welcome Kasey Pearce to the show. Kasey, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing excellent. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Excellent. Kasey, do me a favor. Why don't you tell us all who you are and what you do?
All right. My name is Kasey Pearce. I am currently published. I'm a writer. I'm currently published under SourcePoint Press. I'm also considered a brand ambassador, I guess you'd say, for the company. I've been with them since 2015. And I also do one-on-one direct sales consulting in comics. And I deliver a panel on the importance of marketing and branding in comics called Good Luck With That, which I've had the honor and privilege of delivering in the United States, Canada, and even overseas. My first series, sci-fi NORAH, was recently movie optioned. We're really excited about that. And I first hit the scene with a prose horror novella, Pieces of Madness, and so on and so forth. I kind of do everything.
Well, I wanted to tell you, I rarely have time to actually sit down and read through the comics that are on my stack because it's just growing, and between work and everything, I rarely have time. But this was a book that as soon as I got it, I couldn't put it down. I just opened it up and I was able to just blow through it in like one sitting. And I really enjoyed the concept. I really enjoyed the execution, and congratulations on getting your movie option going. That's a really big step.
Thank you. And thank you for the compliment on the book. No. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
So let's first go into production, and then I definitely want to pick your brain about sales and your direct sales approach and everything. But let's talk about what got you into comics. Like, how did you decide that this is the book I want to make? This is the art style I want. This is the vision that I have.
I was dragged in kicking and screaming. I didn't want to do comics. Nope. So I remember after I had published my first prose novella, which at the time was 5 short stories. It was just a basic book. There were no illustrations in it, and but I was selling out of it at Comic-Cons. And that's when Travis McIntyre had just taken over for SourcePoint Press as editor-in-chief. And he said, I need you to pitch me a comic. And I said, I don't write comics. It's not what I do. I do novellas. I don't think panel by panel. And he's like, well, just pitch me something. And so I had the honor and privilege of knowing Gary Reed, the late, great Gary Reed of Caliber Comics. And I had a chance to peek at his Dead World script because I'd never even seen a comic script before. And as I read it, I'm like, okay, so this is kind of like a film, right? So that's why NORAH issue 1 is such a slow burn, because to me at the time in 2015, that was the first 10 minutes of a film. So, but we did set the pace to be sort of cinematic. And when it came time to choose an artist, I had been following Sean Seal for a while. And being primitive, I'm like, so what medium is that? Is that like really hard colored pencil? Or he's like, I'm actually painting it. I thought, wow, that's really heavy and atmospheric. And that's sort of what NORAH is. I mean, I call it a cigar and bourbon sci-fi. It's very surreal and immersive.
It feels like Jessica Jones. It's interesting you mentioned the bourbon thing, because I was going to say, like, there's a lot of, the character herself kind of comes off sort of like how Jessica Jones does, and like this very dominant, strong female character.
Yeah, I've gotten that comparison. I've gotten Dreamscapes, The Cell. I always pitch it as X-Files meet Starship Troopers, because it's mostly inspired by Robert Heinlein. Starship Troopers was my favorite book. And yeah, so when Sean came on, he really added to that cinematic flow just through impressionistic art. And it just even kicked up the surrealism that much more. And now going into volume 2, we have Kelly O'Hara, who really took it to another place noir wise.
So how's that transition been for you, between this first arc and, the change in the art style? Because I know you sent me a print as well alongside it, which I don't have here with me right now, but it's beautiful print. The artwork looks great, but it's a very different style than what we see in this first book. Sure. What other kinds of changes can we see as your story advances?
We're going to see that nobody's as they seem. I'll just say that. And with Kelly coming on board, she is she comes from a manga inspired background, and this is actually her first comic book. So she's got this like Tokyo pop edge, and she's also a huge Blade Runner fan, and you can definitely tell when you read the second volume. And she's just perfect for the piece because she was familiar with Nora before. I mean, we've been friends for years. And when I approached her, I said, how do you feel about doing sequentials? And she just jumped on it. And I'm so proud of her because when you're painting comics, it's so much different. There's a whole nother challenge, which is it's consistency. It's how you character look the same in this panel as you did that panel when you're doing impressionistic art. And with Kelly, I remember as she was doing it, she kept saying, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I'm like, there's no right. There's no wrong. I just want you to be you. So there's not even panel borders, no gutters, nothing. It's just all just kind of, it's very dreamlike. It fades from one scene into the other.
Interesting. And so then afterwards, you guys figure out a way to make it all fit within those borders, but you want to give her as much freedom as she needs in order, because this is a very lucid experience. Like that we're talking about characters who are entering the subconsciouses of other people, and you need that freedom. And I think that's a really powerful aspect to the storytelling. But one thing that I find even more fascinating about that is the amount of energy that I see coming out of you. You're always smiling. You have so much excitement as you're talking about your work, and I think that's an incredibly important thing when it comes to getting your work out there.
Absolutely. So, if I'm not excited about it, why should anybody else be?
I agree with you. And, I've been dealing with this dilemma myself because my problem, and we were talking about this backstage, you've been working on this for a while, and I've been working on my book for a while. And, we both, are kind of, we're both working at like that snail's pace of, really I don't want to say snail's pace because we're being lazy. It's snail's pace because we're really methodical about the process and really want it to come out. And that's in the comics too. There you go. Yeah. It put it right into perspective. But I think one of the things that and you're also dealing with the direct market now with SourcePoint. So you were also telling me that you were moving at a faster pace. But one of the dilemmas that I'm personally facing as a creator is not feeling like I'm doing enough. Like, when I look at many of my contemporaries who have, tons of projects under their belts, they're working on like 7 different titles. And here I am with one title that comes out every Shrove Tuesday. I feel this onus to put something else out there. Like I must start a new series, but starting a new series sounds great. It's like, hey, I'm going to start something, but if I'm not invested in it, I don't know if I can do it, and you
shouldn't if you're not invested.
Yeah, right.
The thing is, when it comes to a market, a harder scope sells better. I guess I'm trying to say, if you have a target audience already and you have a following, and this is a very successful series in terms of following, then stick with it. If you're not ready to go on to the next thing, because people can tell whether you're invested or not, and I've had those moments, and all creators have. Of
course. Yeah.
But like, I don't have another book out. Like I feel lost and I need more content. And it's nice to have other options. Like I didn't even mention SEERESS, which is my Viking Witch series, which was created because I wanted to just have some fun. And I was invested in the project. I still am. And JJ is wonderful, by the way. But at the same time, it's all about being genuine through the whole process. And if you're not into that, you're not into that, at the moment. Just wait. It's fine. Because time to us moves differently than it does for the reader.
It does. You're right. Because, I read this in one sitting. And it's like, I know for a fact it didn't take you two weeks or 2 hours to make this. It took.
Oh no, that's back when it was the month or the NORAH Quarterly in 2015, because we didn't have mass distribution. We were just like 4 little creators who were kind of punk rocking it on the road, and then we just started to grow, and it's a whole different landscape now. But yeah, going back to what I said about it, time moves differently for the reader. There's still so many people that are just now discovering, like for instance, NORAH. And these are things you have to keep in perspective. There's still people discovering your work, so it's always going to be new to someone. Just because it's not new to us and it's old to us, time moves differently for them.
I agree. And I have my years of experience at conventions to prove that. I've been selling the same book for the last 10 years. So it's like,
and people are like, I've never heard of this before.
Right. Exactly. No. And you would think too, we're all in the same atmosphere. I know that we've more than likely been at the same show more than once, but I only heard about your book very recently because I reached out to you, because you struck me as somebody who is extremely serious about what she's doing and is very passionate about it. And, coming to you, it's like that's what brought me to your work, is that search. And we all have our way of coming to those things. So now let's talk about sales.
All right.
So,
want to buy something?
Yeah, absolutely. I will. Send me your PayPal link.
All right. Great.
So about that, when you're at a convention, what's your approach? Like, what do you do? You're set up, the show floor is open. You see people walking. What do you do?
I greet people. I think, and David Hayes put it best on the last show that we were on. You sort of play a character. It's just an amplified version of you. You're still being genuine. And the most important thing after the greeting is to make the sale about them. Everyone loves talking about themselves. I'm doing it right now. And the biggest difference between indie comics and mainstream comics is that the audience for indie comics feel as if they're part of the experience because they are. So we have to remember that. So I ask them, are you into sci-fi? Are you into horror? If they're not into either, I might pitch them something else, or I might say, I'll try this on you anyway. Or if they do say yes, I say, okay, are you into anything like X-Files or anything darker like that? Like, oh yeah, I'm kind of into that. I put the book in their hand. I say, well, this is something that I created that I think you might enjoy. Or sometimes I don't even say I created it. I said, I think you might enjoy this. Take a look, take your time. And I pitched them the book, which the pitch is very, very, you have to know how to talk about your work.
Yes.
If you don't know how to talk about your work, if you have the and then syndrome and you describe everything that happens in the book as if you're a 5-year-old describing to your mom what you saw in a movie, you're going to lose interest. If you can't grip me in the first 2 sentences, I'm out. And that's how you should see it. So I just pitch it to them, let them thumb through it. And 9 times out of 10, I do get that sale. And what's great is also just making that genuine connection and also saying, can I sign it for you? And that's a nice little bell and whistle. But I mean, really, it's about genuinely engaging with your reader, your audience. And even if they don't buy the book, that's fine. Give them a card and say, I really appreciate your time. Maybe I'll publish something down the line that you might like. Or I'll say, well, maybe if that's not your speed, I pitch one of the other creators in their books, and I push the entire company catalog. For one thing, it makes me an asset. And number 2, we have a together we rise mentality. So because if the company makes it, we make it. Right.
So we were talking about this backstage too, that you're not just you are one of, what was it? The grandma. I didn't want to call you a grandma.
Oh, grandma.
You look younger than me. You look like half my age. So I don't know.
My birthday's next week.
What's that?
My birthday's next week.
Oh, well, happy early birthday. What June 4th.
Yep.
June 4th, really? I just pulled that out of my ass.
That's
I didn't know.
awesome. I'm like, wow, did you look that up?
Well, I saw the sign, so it coming from your lips. So there you go. So yeah, so you're the grandmother of Source Point Press, and you're not just pushing your book, you're pushing other books, which is I think is really I think that's really amazing, because as creators we're internalizing, and we're always thinking about getting not just books in people's hands, but our books. We want our books to sell because we're the ones who gain the most from it. And
that's why you should also, if you're within a company, you should also know your other creators, know those titles, and know what sells, who you sell well with, who you have a dynamic with, or what books are in a similar vein. And you group them, and you can offer deals, and you just move more books, and it's a win-win. They get a deal, and you move more books. So,
so what is how is your pitch? Like how long do you keep it? Because you made a point about not droning on, and we've all seen it. Some guy will come up to us and show us their work and be like, well, and then this happens here, and I think a lot of creators, they're again, we're internalizing a lot, so we see it from our point of view.
It's hard because we can pitch somebody else's book all day long, but when it comes to our own, we're just like. And it just comes with practice. But it should be like, think of it as the back of a book, the blurb. So it's like a job interview. You've got 2 or 3 sentences to rope me in, because pitching to the publisher and the reader is not that much different. I mean, if it doesn't grip me in the first 2 or 3 sentences, if you don't give me the chance to say I could potentially throw down money on this, now that's a reader and a publisher, then because you don't want to insult their intelligence either. So give them a chance. So I have learned to summarize NORAH as this, and also brand comparison helps. And people get really insulted and sensitive about brand comparison. Don't, because I'm telling you right now, there's nothing new under the sun, just different ways of doing it. So if you are in a similar vein as something else, then that's okay. And if somebody else compares your work to something that you didn't intend, don't tell them they're wrong. They're probably right in their perception. You don't know. So yeah,
well
you like Star Wars? Yeah, this is just like Star Wars. No, but not that far. But
well, you know what? I'll tell you this, Kasey. This happened to me at Phoenix Comic-Con a couple of years ago. This very sweet young girl came up to me, and I pitched her, and she decided not to buy my book, but she was like, "You look like the guy who played in the last Star Wars movie, the guy who played Captain Shatner's character, Christopher Pike." Yeah. I don't look anything like that guy. I don't look anything like that guy, especially back then. I was like fucking 50 pounds heavier, and like, but she paid me a compliment. I mean, he's a handsome looking guy, and hey, if you want to compare me to him, why the hell not, right? Yeah, hey, why not? But I think that's the thing too, is when we identify with things, we see them as one thing, and that is what opens up that door for people to come in and feel like they can get on board with it. And you definitely don't want to talk yourself out of a sale. I agree with that 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so 2 to 3 sentences, NORAH, when I pitch it like this, I say it's X-Files meets Starship Troopers. So right there, you know whether you're going to be into it or not. NORAH has the ability to go into the mind's eye and retrieve you from or help you cross over during a coma. She obtains the ability while working in pathogenic development for the CIA. See,
there you go. That's all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need, because there's a shit ton that happens in this book.
But you don't want to tell everybody that.
There's a huge tragic event. There's an intergalactic threat. But I don't have to say any of those things.
Right.
This is really what it's about. And then they really, I'm like, yeah, like pathogenic development. What's that? Well, it's research, or it's a weapon development for means of viral weaponry or biological warfare.
So I noticed that there is a lot of military reference in here, and I'm assuming you did research on military and things like that.
My dad's a military man.
Your dad's a military man. That's where it comes from. Okay, cool.
And my dad, that's actually his likeness. He is a General Brand in that book.
Oh, really? Okay. Yep. What branch of the military did
Army, Vietnam.
Army. Excellent. Well, thank him for his service. I always say that to military people because the sacrifice they make is huge. So, military daughter, and I'm sure you traveled around a lot growing up.
Oh no, not. I mean, my dad's very old. And I'm
okay.
So I was a later kid.
Okay.
There's a lot of influence from that.
Okay.
And the research I did on it's weird because with science fiction, you have to be able to suspend belief, but not that much. So when I did research on biological warfare, I actually had to research a lot of pathology, and I come from a pathology background because we had to study disease and the nervous system and the way the body works in massage therapy. I went to a very high-end massage therapy school and learned all that. And that's how I became sort of obsessed with it. But really, NORAH, when it started, it was with my fascination with the nervous system. When I was 26, I'm going off on a tangent. When I was 26, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And
no kidding.
Yeah, I've had MS for a while, and
a good friend of mine has it too.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but
yeah.
But yeah, I became obsessed with the nervous system and what it does because I'm someone who has to research everything. You can't tell me you don't know why I have what I have. But I've also dabbled in metaphysical and philosophy. So I thought to myself, well, what is a coma? Well, to me, it's a metaphysical house in space, somewhere just cold and desolate between life and death. And I also love NPR. So I became obsessed with the CIA and what they do. So I just sort of combined the two. When I was real bored one night in my apartment during the ice storms that were sweeping through the Midwest at the time, and I was sort of barricaded, and I had written the character long before the comic and long before Travis approached me.
Mm-hmm. So this idea has been something that's been brewing for you. So how did it feel to finally get it out? Was it just kind of like, because I remember when I first got my book out there, it's like I was spending about a couple of years doing research and just the hell I had to go through with the production and the money that you put in and everything, you know how it is. Yeah. And finally get out and it's like you're a bat out of hell. You want to move this thing, and it doesn't matter if you have sales experience or not. Right. You just want to push that out there. But everybody's story is different. So sales. I mean, and you're driven by it too. Mm-hmm. Is there some sort of background in that, or is it just your passion, just coming through your work and your desire to get it out there that makes you this powerhouse?
It took observation to see why I was moving so many books, more than when my peers were struggling to sell books. And I had deduced it to the genuine creator meeting experience. People loved my brand. And so for me, it was putting the brand just a little bit in front of the book, just sort of, introduce it. Because I made myself accessible as a creator. Mm. So people could reach out to me, people could interact. I was very interactive, and I made my audience part of the experience. And I love meeting people, and I think being personable helps, but yeah, I just had to sort of make it more formulaic. I'm like, how am I doing this? And that's where the panel, good luck with that, came into play.
Yes, I was actually gonna, I was hoping to segue there at the 30-minute mark, but go ahead. No. Well, I wanted to still ask you a couple things about that. Sure. Sticking to sales, because there's the other aspect of it too. And I talk about this all the time with people like us who do what we do. Rejection, we all get it. But another thing that happens is that you're in a very unique situation, because you're not just selling your stuff, you're selling the work of other creators as well. Right. And you have this excellent mindset. But what happens on days when, say your book is not selling well, you're doing better at selling somebody else's work? Does that affect you? And how do you overcome any negative feelings you might have on the floor or rejection?
I don't know that I've ever had a problem where I'm selling somebody else's work more than I'm selling my own. It's usually equal, or, nobody's going to sell your baby like you will.
Yes, that's right. That's
So,
right.
But on discouraging days, gosh, you just have to sort of, we have, as creators, we have a very tender ego, and it's about dropping the ego and realizing that I'll probably never see that person again. So, and also bearing in mind, and I remember Travis McIntyre told me this when I broke down crying at a Comic-Con once. I had NORAH issue 1, and I just couldn't sell a copy. Oh. And he took me outside and he said, Kasey, you don't need thousands of people buying your work. You need the right 500 to follow you. And that's when I realized that customers come and go, and I was not after customers. I was after followers. So it didn't really matter if I sold the book or not. And it's not really my prime focus. My primary focus is getting another follower. And that's how small empires are built. So once I shifted my focus, as a result, I sold more books.
Right. Yeah, I had the same problem at C2E2 when I first premiered my graphic novel. I saw them as single issues. And the single issues I never had problems with, but I had this mentality when I released the graphic novel that I didn't have to sell the single issues anymore. And so I stopped selling and I stopped selling the single issues. And the first day my numbers just plummeted. And I only sold like maybe, 5 or 10 graphic novels. And I was really just in a dark place. And then I went to one of those networking events, and everybody, it was a pretty cold. I felt like I was getting a cold shoulder from a lot of other people out there. I don't know why. It was probably more psychological than anything, but yeah. I think that eventually I kind of came to the same conclusion that it's not about selling so much, but also giving people those options. But it's also what Travis said to you is 100% right. It's about cultivating and bringing in. It's about the experience.
Yes.
And I totally agree with you on that. And now let's segue over to your infamous panel that you lead. Good luck with that. So first off, brilliant title.
Thank you.
What inspired it, and what is it? Tell me everything.
Well, it was inspired when I first debuted. The first day I debuted NORAH issue 1 at a C2E2 about 5 years ago. Yeah. And I didn't want to bother people. I
know that feeling.
Right. So I was very timid. I'm like, you know what? My fellow creator, Greg Wright, who writes Monstrous, he doesn't care. He just gets out there, like whatever. And I'm like, I can do that. So I got in front of the table and I was asking people, I was like, hey, can I talk to you about NORAH? No. And this is something that, I created a book, right? I've arrived. And it was really bruising to the ego. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, hey, can I talk to you about NORAH? No, thanks. They're in a rush. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I wrote this. So finally, the third person stopped. Maybe it was probably the fifth. And they listened to my pitch, and I crossed my fingers, and, he handed it back to me, and he said, I don't think it's for me, but good luck with that. And that would be the first of thousands of good luck with that I'd hear over the next, 5 years.
I get the congratulations, but congratulations.
Oh, congrats on that. Good for you.
Yeah.
High five. But I take it in stride because those people genuinely mean you no harm. I know they mean with the best of intentions, but after the third one, you're like, oh, you can trick that and show.
Like, fuck you, motherfucker!
Right,
on my fucking book.
But oh, showed up your ass.
Yeah.
And on days that we're tired, we kind of get like that, but just don't say it out loud. But yeah. So the panel, good luck with that. That came out of a calling to tell people everything that I wish I had known before I went into indie comics. Because there's books on this, but they're more of memoirs and personal experiences. This, I'm like, there's certain rules of thumb, and the landscape changes so much And I'm like, and even the panel had to evolve because the landscape kept changing. And so it's about how to do direct sales at Comic-Cons, how to brand yourself, marketing, and how to sell your work to publishers even, and what they look for, and how to make yourself an asset to a publisher. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback. Like I said, I've delivered this panel in Canada, all over the U.S., mostly in Midwestern states. And I did some New England states as well. And then in Ireland.
That's incredible. I've never been out there.
I had the honor and privilege of going twice, and gosh, Dublin Comic-Con was really cool, and I got to deliver it there, and I got a lot of great feedback, and I find it really rewarding to give this panel. I really do, because
and you're heading it off. This is you in the center stage of a room. You're not bringing on other creators. This is you. There's
not even an overhead projector, nothing like that. It's just me. Just me talking, and at the end we do like a Q&A. But the first time I did it, it was called The New Landscape, and that was with Jason Clark was the moderator. But other than that, it's just me having a conversation. Like, listen, I'm gonna tell you exactly the way it is and what you're going to encounter and how you should respond.
And how did you manage to arrange, this panel? Because I typically I don't leave the floor. The show floor opens, I'm there all day. But I've been talking to a lot of creators, and they find that panels help them get a certain spike in sales. It gives them a chance to get out and present and to talk about how they ended up doing what they're doing. My fear is always I don't have anybody to watch my stuff when I'm gone. So I'm always worried about, leaving my table unattended. But at the same time, I think that there's something to be said about panels. Do you see a kickback in sales from doing this particular panel?
I do. And to comment on that, I'm very blessed that I'm normally at a table with a lot of people. I do some shows as guest, but if you're only leaving for an hour, I mean,
it's not a big deal. It honestly isn't. We all leave. Right? I drink. A long
time after it's over, I'm like, I gotta rush back. My stuff. Like we all think that. Like, again, time is different to us.
Right, it does, and especially on the convention floor, every minute counts because once it hit, once the clock hits,
just a rush. We're always like,
oh yeah. Don't you hate that? And then you get back and it's fucking slow, and you don't and like no one you get a whole bunch of good luck with that and congratulations, for like good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I'll be back. I love those too.
Finger pistol. I can go. But to comment on that, and something I also say in the panel is that let's think about Comic-Cons, right? Let's think about before the oversaturation of shows, before the explosion of nerd culture, when now it's mainstream to be a nerd, yada, yada, yada. So before all that, even through all that, from the original Comic-Con to what it is now, there's one thing that remains true. People are there for the genuine creator meeting experience, whether they realize it or not. Also, when you hit that door, people flock to Comic-Cons because they want to know what's cool. They want to be a part of what's cool. And as salespeople, it's our job to tell them what we think is cool. Put the book in their hand and say, you know what, I think this is cool, and I think you will too, and I'm going to tell you why.
Kasey, you and I are more alike than I even realized. Even after I saw your bio, even after I made the post, now that I'm talking to you, I realized that we're just basically, we're just cut from the exact same cloth. Yes, it is. Absolutely. How are you handling what's going on right now? Because this has to be crushing you as much as it is me. But yet I see you with you got so much excitement. You even got one of our viewers, Megan Colleen, very old friend of mine. She's ready to buy your book. You've made a sale. If you look at the comments, you got a sale from her, and I know you want to.
Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. We're just talking about NORAH. Like I said, there's a few other titles too, but also get a T-shirt too. Those are really cool.
I'll get a T-shirt and I'll work out in it. I swear I will absolutely buy a T-shirt from you.
Very cool. And I saw you working out. That's awesome.
Yeah, I have to. Gotta,
Yeah,
gotta live a long time so I can keep doing the Comic-Con thing. Right?
Well, that's how I've been handling this this recent time we've been gifted. I think it's all about perspective, right? So in the beginning, I was scared for my company. That, of course, your mind goes to the worst. Oh, we're going to become non-viable. And but I think that Travis, especially as a leader, has this knack for seeing problems, because problems are really temporary situations. So I think he takes the approach of, how am I going to handle this temporary situation? And he handles it step by step. And because we're such a tight-knit family, we just immediately went into family mode, survivalist mode. How are we going to get through this? And it was just all being open to each other's ideas. Like the online auctions did really well, because I thought, well, our bread and butter is audience engagement. And the only way we can do that now is like what we're doing here. So I'm like, why don't we do a live auction? We've got tons of variants, and that went over super well. I did the first one. David Hayes did the second one. I did another one. And those have slowed down a little bit, but because, Diamond is like, okay, we're back on the horse and things are starting to improve. But I think I was more scared for these small business owners, the comic shop owners, because they've been so good to us, and I thought, well, what are they going to do? So that's when Travis sort of solved that temporary problem, and offered retailer relief packages and anything we could do to take care of our retailers. Because before Diamond, of course, we were direct sales. There was no middleman. So we have established very good relationships with these stores and these owners. So they're like our family too. So Travis he took care of everything. He took care of everyone. And Joshua Werner too. God, that guy, he's our art director, but shit, he's everything to everyone. And I don't know how he does it. I mean, he lives on energy drinks, really.
Well, when you're running a business, you got to do whatever you can to survive. I was talking with my good friend and one of my mentors, Jim Salicrup, yesterday. Who's the editor and chief of Paper Cuts, and you just got to keep things moving, right? It's you got to strategize what you're going to do from when one crisis hits, how are you going to manage it? And some things are going to hit, some things are going to miss, and some things are going to do okay. And that's what matters is that you survive. And I think another thing too that I've realized from this whole situation is, and I've talked with Travis about this, I had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, the people that are intent on seeing this through are going to survive. Yes. But not everybody can, and not everybody will be able to. But the people that are intent on it, people like you, are going to see this through. And certainly SourcePoint Press as a company, you guys are doing incredible stuff. And I'll be the first to say it. I was, as soon as I had Travis on the show, I'm like, dude, I want to be a part of this movement. I submitted my books.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I'm sure I'll get rejected, as I have by every other publisher. But regardless,
hard pass.
Hard pass. And if it happens, the hell with it. But the point is I respect what you guys are doing very much, because it's very rare that you see a publisher that is really helping creators maximize what they're doing.
Yes.
Because it's one thing, I've been doing this on my own for 10 years. I've sold over 100,000 books on the convention floor without any real reach from retailers. It's an extremely difficult. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. But it's a really hard. It's a hard game.
Blood, sweat, tears. Blood, sweat, and tears.
Absolutely. And when you're part of a
man.
Yeah, and when you're part of a bigger when you're part of a bigger structure, it changes the dynamic completely. And when you're thinking with like-minded individuals, everybody, it's like what you said, if we rise together. Brian K. Morris, who was a guest on the show a couple weeks ago, as well. You know him, yes. Rising Tide Publications. You know where he came up with the name for that?
No.
For his company? A rising tide, what's the saying? A rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
Yes, raises all ships. So that's where he gets the idea. And Brian has always been a huge advocate for anybody who's looking to get into this business, all creators who are looking to really make their way or need guidance. He's the guy that you can come and talk to, and he's extremely open about it. He's got passion, just like like all of us do, and I think that's a really important aspect of it. But another thing I want to say about SourcePoint is the quality of the books, the quality of the stuff that's coming out is getting better and better with, as the years go on. And you guys are serious contenders. I mean, it's just, I think you guys are this age's Dark Horse Comics, without a doubt.
Thank you so much.
I'm done licking your asshole. I apologize. Rejected. Move on.
Hard pass.
Fuck yeah, hard pass. There you go. But again, getting a bunch of people like that together and finding a commonality, because we all have different projects, right?
Yeah.
And finding not only a common way to come together, but a common approach to build on what we're doing, I think is an important thing. Because I've always tried to kind of stay away from the whole independent culture because of the fact that it's not mainstream, right? And mainstream is what gets everybody in. That's what the Marvel and DC thing is. So I've recently kind of come out of that. But what's your take on it? Like, would you ever work for Marvel or DC?
I hate money, so. Well, I'll work for anybody who cuts me a check. I'm gonna be real. No, but it would actually be an honor to work for a Dark Horse or to, I wouldn't say work for, to have a publication through them.
Yeah.
Sure. And here's the thing too. I pitched to other publishers, and because the thing is, brand association also helps us. We've got Jay Fosgett, who has done work for Marvel, for IDW, for Boom Studios. And when I talk about him and talk about his association with SourcePoint Press, you best believe I put those hashtags in there.
You have to. And that's another aspect of the marketing. But also, you guys, clearly you've got a strategy and you're doing stuff and you guys are all working together and you're moving stuff. But what's still missing, though, is those person-to-person interactions. Are you missing that? Or are you kind of like, what, I'm busy right now. When the conventions come back, that's when I'll start getting excited about those.
Break. I think collectively, as much as it sucks, I mean, I was going hard for 5 years, just like you, the 20 shows a year and this place and that place and this weekend and that weekend, and then trying to balance a day job on top of it. And it's just, we are gifted time for a reason. And I think it's just all about perspective. So what are you going to do with this time? Well, hell, I'm really excited when we get back because we're going to have all new books, we're from everybody, so many new creations in the works, and a wonderful time to expand your education, to get in touch with yourself. Just, time is a gift. And I feel like things do happen for a reason. And I wish I could ensure the survival of everyone. If I could, I would.
Of course. We all would.
I just do whatever it is that I can to help. If someone needs me, I'm there. Whatever I can do to be of service. Just let me know.
And that's how I remember I met you for the first time. Well, I saw you for the first time. I think it was Instagram, because you were mentioning you were putting something up about like, hey, if you have an independent comic, let me know, and I'll do a shout out for you. And I reached out to you, and you actually did do the shout out for me. Even though I wasn't, yes, you were very kind about it. And then from there, I started to see you more because now I was paying attention. I think once I engaged you, I started to see more of your posts. And I think that's typically what happens. And that's another thing too, is, when we're on Facebook and the way information floods us, clearly our phones are listening to our conversations. I mean, that's just proven fact now, but the way information comes to us sometimes also depends on the posts that we see. So, what was I thinking about that day? I was thinking about how to promote. And then all of a sudden I saw a post from you. And
maybe you manifested it.
It did. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then it just opens up doors. And I think you're right. You know, it's like there's that I forget about the bustle and moving about. So you mentioned you have a day job. If you don't mind my asking, what do you do? What's your day job?
So, well, right now I'm an editor.
Mhm.
Have just taken over Red Pen Media, which is now my company. And so I've been knee deep in editing lately. So novels, prose, comic scripts, only $75. If it's under 25 pages, I proofread, content edit, and even have a last look at letters. So follow me, Red Pen Media, on Facebook.
Absolutely.
But before then, I've had an injury to my hand. I was a massage therapist. So that's where my anatomy and pathology background stem from.
And I also think your approach comes from too, because you know I get massages all the time, you know, in between conventions, just to kind of, you know, take care of my back and everything. And you know, it's that approach, you know, like you walk into a massage parlor and, you know, you're greeted and you're automatically relaxed. Your defenses are kind of put down. That's how I see it, you know, as me coming in there. And
We're healers.
yeah. And I see that. I get that from you right away, just as I'm talking to you.
Well, like, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Victor Dandridge, he said that too. You know, that's his whole approach about, Victor. Everybody knows Victor. Everybody loves Victor. one of my favorite people. But yeah, it's that whole idea of, you know, what can I do for you? And, you know, I see that coming across. But go on. I'm sorry. I totally interrupted you. You were a massage therapist.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That was it. That was the end of it.
Yeah, you know.
I thought there was a bigger story there. I'm sorry.
No, I've been a massage therapist and Reiki master for about 9 years. So, and I do medical massage, which is, you know, deep tissue. I also do energy work, but mostly I've worked for chiropractic offices, and it's always treatment-based massage. So, just grueling work.
It is grueling work.
I love doing it. I love all my clients, and I miss them. I haven't worked in almost a year because of my hand injury, which is actually, I went through a long thing of we were trying to find out while I was in workman's comp what was going on with my hand, because my hand just all of a sudden, like, I put my elbow into a client's hip and I leaned in and I felt a zing down my arm and my hand just went. I felt like I was wearing a Mickey Mouse glove, like it wasn't my hand anymore. And I just started having this out of body experience, and I'm like, this is not good. And I couldn't even type. And I'm like, this, no, this is an injury. So they thought it was coming from my shoulder. They thought they were going to have to remove my first rib because it was impinging on an artery. And after all this hoopla, months and months and months, we finally had an MRI of my brain. And they said, well, you have new active lesions on your brainstem. And that's what's causing the numbness in your hand. So it was just a massive MS flare up. And I'm still recuperating from it, but I'm getting much better. So I'm very thankful for that.
So this time is very valuable to you because it's giving you the ability to rest, and that's very important.
Yes, I remember it was 2 C2E2s ago. And had I said, like, even Travis was like, listen, if you're sick, you know, don't go. And it's like, you know what? I'll feel worse if I stay home. And I remember my limbs were on fire. I felt like have you ever been in a car accident and like had airbag burn?
No, I've never actually been. Thank God, knock on wood, I haven't been in any serious car accidents in my life.
I had airbag burn once. So it felt like I had road rash all over my body, and I kept going as if I was on fire. Like I'm burning. And but you know, I had some CBD salve that really helped too.
Oh, there you go. Right on.
I smelled like I was packing a bowl like the whole time I was at C2. You probably brought more people to the table. Like, who's got some? You're holding on.
You know, I've actually I'm I don't hide this. I smoke pot all the time, but I've recently gone on hiatus with it, and I'm on like my 6th day now of not smoking. So I've been having withdrawals. So when you're mentioning that, I'm like drooling at them up.
Like, where
is it?
That guy from this. You know,
well, you know,
you're kind of a detox, kind of a cleanse.
Yeah, kind of a cleanse, and you know, I don't know, just why not? You know,
Yeah, it's so easy to pick that up even more, when you're in quarantine.
yeah, of course. Well,
A lot of people have gained weight just because, like, screw it, all there is to do is eat.
Well, here's another thing I wanted to talk to you about. So I was looking through your pictures. I was Facebook stalking you. And not in a, and yeah, sorry. But I came across this picture of you from a newspaper clip. You got this girl in a headlock. She's like dead, and you're basically like, that's your niece. Oh, I thought that was you.
No, my niece is a wrestling star.
Oh, no kidding. I thought that was you who was a wrestling star.
Oh, my niece is like top 5 in the nation. She's
I thought it was you. I was like, oh shit, we got a fucking wrestler.
No, my hero was my niece. She's awesome. That's Sylvia. But yeah, she's a wrestling star. I thought you were gonna mention my weight loss. It's like, oh,
well, Kasey, you look great. Regardless of anything, you look great. Every time I see you, you are stunning. But
115 pounds.
You dropped 115 pounds? Holy fucking shit!
That's what I thought you were gonna talk about.
Holy shit! No, actually, well, I now let's talk because I actually recently dropped 70 pounds is what I'm at, and I got like another 20, but another 20 to go for myself because I just want to be a lean, mean fighting machine when I get on the floor. Like the less, well, because the less you weigh, the more you can stand on your feet, and we're standing on our feet all day, right? And I love what you said before about how you get in front of your table because that's been my thing from the beginning, and I don't see enough people doing it. So when I hear that other people are standing up and getting out and engaging, this is a contact sport, what we do. And I think being light is important. Just like when you play basketball, being tall is important. You play football, you got to be burly and stocky. You're a wrestler, you got to be made out of rubber, pretty much,
Oh, yeah, my niece is a spider monkey.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. my little son, he's like that too. He's a little shithead. I fucking throw him across the room and, he just comes back and starts hitting me. And he hits me in the nuts at least once a week.
Oh, he's a decent monkey.
I don't think I'll never have kids again. I'm fucking done. I've gotten hit in the nuts so many times it's not even funny. I'm like, I know what the pain is, and it's the worst pain in the world. I mean, I
breath out of you.
What's that?
I've never experienced being kicked in the balls, but I'm sure it takes.
Well, I'll never know what childbirth is like, so I can't say anything. I can't compare that. You know what I mean to anything like that. But when my wife, when she gave birth, she was drugged up. You don't get drugged up when you get a surprise kick in the nuts. You're not fucking drugged up. Yes, it sucks. I've been kicked in the nuts a ton of times before that too. So it's like, I'm sure I've lowered my sperm count and, smoking marijuana. But, hey, we're talking about you, not about my nuts. So welcome back to Onward with Onrie. We're back from our break here. So how did you go about losing weight? Because 115 pounds, Kasey, that's a big deal. And how's that affected what you do? I mean, at Comic-Con.
Well, this was before I joined comics. This was I joined comics shortly after, or the Comic-Con scene, because I had started as a blogger and a con personality. That's a whole other segment of my life. But yeah, so I remember. It was around the time I was diagnosed with MS, and I was like, well, here's an ultimatum. I just slipped down my size 20 jeans, and I'm like, well, this isn't going to get any easier. I'm about to be in my 30s. I'm in my late 20s now. So I either say I'm happy and accept the way that I am, or I say that I'm not and I do something about it. And I couldn't lie to myself. I really wasn't. I wasn't happy. So I set out to lose 100 pounds, but on the fridge, I put 90 because it was one less numeral. It wasn't as intimidating. And
90 is intimidating. Just dropping any weight is intimidating.
It is. But you know what? I'm like, well, I knew it would probably take me about a year. And I thought, well, a year is a blink in time, and all I have is time. So I dedicated a year and some change. And at first I did low carb. I did low carb for a while, almost that year, and weight training. weight training, because my dad is also a personal trainer, really became a passion for me.
You got some muscles on you too.
I
show
do.
us those biceps. That is not your biceps put mine to shame. Look at this. Look at these girly arms. I mean, look, seriously. I mean, your arms the same size as yours are bigger than mine.
Yeah, I got some massive delts. It's hard to tell because I'm kind of pale right now. But and we're in the basement. But yeah, like that just like it just became a thing for me. And then after a while something stops working, then you have to kind of change up your system. And what I've been doing for the past 3 years is intermittent fasting.
Same here. I do intermittent fasting too.
Yeah,
yes, it is excellent. Oh, I love it. I do the bulletproof coffee in the morning.
Oh, yeah, very cool.
Yeah. I drink a gallon of water a day. Do you drink a lot of water?
Yeah, a lot of water, a lot of coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I tried yesterday? I put my younger son, he's the one that kicks me in the nuts. He's always really fussy. And so I put him to bed yesterday, and I realized in his room it's really dark in there. And it's so dark that it doesn't matter if you close your eyes or not, it's still black, you know? And it makes you it's an intoxicating environment for falling asleep. And I'm like, I got to wake up and work because the last 2 nights I've been falling asleep with them. And then I get up at like midnight and I'm like, fuck, I just lost like 2 hours and like, I'm not going to work now. I'm going to bed for the night. Right. And, so I tried a coffee with honey and coconut oil yesterday. And I normally don't mix honey into coffee, but I heard that it's good. So I just tried it. And yes, I do love coconut oil too. That's my shit right there.
Yeah, I haven't had the honey and coffee yet. I'm normally like black all the way, sometimes some MCT oil, a little bit of butter.
I put butter in it too.
Oh, yeah. So I made a coconut oil would be like that. But yeah, I cook with it. I use it as a moisturizer. It's awesome.
I think in a parallel universe, you and I would be twins.
Right?
I really do.
I think if we just hair went is my head.
Well, I got hair here, so that I got hair everywhere else on my body.
Pull like a Willy Willy and take that magnetic pen and just kind of whoop.
Yep, there you go.
You look great.
Thank you very much. Kasey, we're coming to the end of the show right now. So I want to give you a chance to give us a final shout out and, tell us where we can find you, where we can buy your stuff, because I know that people are going to want to buy from you right now.
Awesome. So sourcepoint.press is where you can find my sci-fi series, NORAH. You can get the Volume 1 trade, and you can pre-order issues 1 and 2 of Volume 2. You can also snag a Volume 2 t-shirt. And if you're into one-shots, we have a Viking witch horror series called SEERESS, illustrated by J.J. Cott. It's like a heavy metal meets Norse mythology, all sexy, gory Viking witch fables, all one-shots, like I said. And then, sourcepoint.press is where you can find those. You can find me at facebook.com/CosmicKasey, both with K's, Twitter at CosmicKasey, Instagram, KCDWrites, and Red Pen Media you can find on Facebook as well, which is my editing company.
Kasey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Do me a favor, hang out backstage. I just, I want to talk to you a little bit, right before we wrap up here. Okay. All right.
Thank you guys.
Hang tight. No. It was such a pleasure having you. You're amazing. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
All right. Hang tight. I'll be right back. All right. What an episode. Tomorrow we got Jim Salerkrupp coming on the show. I'm so excited. It's his birthday. So what better way to spend his birthday than to talk with me and to come on Onward with Onrie Live. That's the best way to spend your birthday. Yes, we had a great episode, great time with Kasey, and I look forward to getting to know her more. She's an incredible person and creator, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with a brand new episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Leave a comment section, subscribe, do all that wonderful stuff. Go and support the creators that have been on the show as well, especially Kasey. I'm telling you, NORAH, this is one of my favorite books that's out right now. I totally support it, and I'm going to buy a t-shirt. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to go and buy a t-shirt. I'll see you guys next week with the brand new tomorrow with the brand new episode. And until that time comes, onward to victory and backwards from defeat.